Kate Morrison pressed her face against the small window of her underwater ship. The deep blue water around her was so dark that she could barely see anything. Her ship's lights cut through the darkness like bright knives, showing the rocky walls of the underwater canyon below that. She had been exploring the ocean planet Nereus 7 for 3 months now. As a scientist who studied sea life, Kate loved discovering new creatures in the deep waters. This planet was perfect for her work. It was almost completely covered by water, with oceans deeper than anything on Earth. "Computer, run another scan," Kate said, watching the green lines move across her screen. Something was different down here. Her machines kept picking up strange energy signals from the deepest part of the canyon. The computer beeped. "Energy readings are stronger now, Doctor Morrison. The source appears to be moving." Kate's heart beat faster. Moving energy signals usually meant living creatures. Big ones. She pushed the controls forward, making her small ship dive deeper into the canyon. The water pressure outside was crushing, but her ship was built to handle. It dotted as she went deeper. Strange lights began to appear in the distance. They were not the usual colors she expected from deep-sea creatures. These lights were gold and silver, pulsing in patterns that looked almost like they had meaning. "What the hell?" Kate whispered, staring at the lights. She moved closer, being very careful. The lights grew brighter, and she could see they were coming from huge creatures moving in the water. Kate had never seen anything like them before. They looked like giant dragons from old stories, but they lived in the water instead of flying through air. The creatures were enormous. Even the smallest one was longer than her research ship. They had long, snake-like bodies covered in scales that glowed with their own light. Their heads were shaped like those of ancient dragons, with sharp teeth and glowing eyes. Instead of wings, they had large fins that moved through the water like silk ribbons. Kate counted at least 12 of the giant creatures. They were arranged in a circle around something in the center. She could not see what it was yet, but they all seemed to be focused on it. "This is incredible," she said to herself, turning on her ship's recording devices. "I'm looking at an entirely new species, maybe even an intelligent one." As she got closer, Kate could see that the creatures were making sounds. Her ship's computers picked up complex patterns of clicks, whistles, and deep rumbling noises. It sounded almost like they were talking to each other. The circle of giant creatures suddenly moved apart, and Kate could finally see what was in the center. Her breath caught in her throat. There was a much smaller creature there, probably a baby compared to the adults. It was tied up with what looked like glowing seaweed and sinking slowly toward the bottom of the canyon. The baby creature was struggling, trying to break free from the ties that held it. Its small fins moved desperately, but it could not escape. The adult creatures just watched as it sank deeper and deeper. Kate's training told her not to interfere with natural processes. She had been taught to observe and record, not to get involved. But as she watched the small creature struggle, something deep inside her refused to stay quiet. "They're drowning it," she said, her voice shaking with anger. "They're just watching while that baby drowns." The baby creature's movements were getting weaker. Its glowing scales were starting to dim. Kate realized it was dying right in front of her eyes. All her scientific training disappeared in that moment. Kate was not thinking like a researcher anymore. She was thinking like a human being who could not watch a baby die. She grabbed the controls of her ship and pushed them forward. The engines roared to life, and her small vessel shot through the water toward the circle of giant creatures. The adult creatures saw her coming and scattered in what looked like panic. They had probably never seen anything like her ship before. Their huge bodies moved through the water with surprising speed, disappearing into the dark depths of the canyon. Kate did not care about the adults. She only cared about the baby. She used her ship's mechanical arms to grab the small creature, being as gentle as she could. The glowing seaweed that held it was tough, but her ship's cutting tools sliced through it easily. the moment the baby creature was free, Kate pulled it into her ship's rescue chamber. It was about the size of a large dog, with scales that shifted color from blue to green to silver. Its eyes were closed, and it was not moving much. "Come on, little one," Kate said, checking the creature's vital signs with her medical scanner. "Stay with me." The scanner showed that the creature was alive but very weak. It seemed to breathe water instead of air, so Kate made sure the rescue chamber was filled with clean seawater. She also added nutrients and oxygen to help the creature recover. As her ship began the long journey back to the surface, Kate looked down at the baby creature in her rescue chamber. It was so small and helpless. She had no idea what kind of creature it was or what she had just interrupted, but she knew she had done the right thing. "I'm going to call you Ember," she said, watching the creature's scales flicker with weak light. "Because you're still glowing, even though you're hurt." Kate had no way of knowing that her simple act of kindness had just changed the course of history for 2 entire species. She only knew that she could not let an innocent creature die while she watched. Kate carried the baby creature, Ember, into the medical bay of the nearest research station. The floating station was home to 20 human scientists who studied the ocean world. It was their only base on the entire planet, sitting on the surface of the endless sea. "Ben, I need help," Kate called out as she placed Ember in the largest medical tank they had. The tank was designed for studying fish, but it would have to do. Dr. Ben Martinez rushed into the medical bay, his eyes going wide when he saw the creature. "Kate, what is that thing?" "I found it underwater. Some kind of baby dragon, I think. The adults were trying to drown it." Kate connected monitoring equipment to the tank, watching Ember's vital signs on the screen. Ben shook his head. "You don't know that. Maybe it was some kind of ceremony or natural behavior." "Kate, you can't just take alien creatures from their families." "Their families were killing it," Kate said firmly. She watched Ember floating in the tank, barely moving. The creature's beautiful scales had turned dull gray, and its eyes remained closed. For 3 days, Kate tried everything she could think of to help Ember get better. She fed it different types of food, changed the water temperature, and even played music to see if that would help. Nothing worked. The baby creature was getting weaker. "It's dying," Kate whispered on the 3rd night, pressing her hand against the tank. "I saved it from drowning, but it's dying anyway." Ben sat beside her, looking worried. "Maybe it needs something we don't understand. These creatures might be completely different from Earth animals." "I won't give up," Kate said. "There has to be something." The next morning, loud alarms woke everyone in the station. Captain Roy Blake's voice came over the speakers. "All staff report to observation deck immediately. We have visitors." Kate ran to the observation deck with the others. Through the large windows, she could see something impossible rising from the ocean. Huge shapes were breaking the surface, bigger than anything she had ever seen. Water poured off them like waterfalls as they rose higher and higher. "Those are the adult creatures," Kate breathed. "The ones from the canyon." 3 enormous dragon-like beings floated in the air above the ocean, their bodies glowing with bright patterns. They were even more beautiful in the daylight. Their scales reflected the sunlight like jewels, and their eyes were intelligent and ancient. The largest of the 3 creatures moved closer to the station. When it spoke, its voice was so deep that the whole station shook. But somehow, the words were in English. "We seek the surface walker who entered the sacred depths." Captain Blake grabbed the communication device with shaking hands. "This is Captain Blake of the Nereus Research Station. We are peaceful scientists from Earth." "We do not come in anger," the great creature replied. "We come to honor the one who participated in the depth trial. We seek the one called Kate Morrison." Everyone turned to look at Kate. Her face went pale. "How do they know my name?" "You need to talk to them," Captain Blake said. "This is the first contact we've had with intelligent life on this planet." Kate took the communication device. Her hands were shaking. "This is Kate Morrison. I'm the one who found your baby." The largest creature moved even closer to the station. Kate could see that its eyes were kind, not angry. "I am Silfarian, elder of the Deep Current clan. You have honored us beyond measure, Kate Morrison." "I don't understand," Kate said. "Your people were drowning that baby. I had to save it." "You did not witness a drowning," Silfarian said gently. "You witnessed the most sacred ceremony of our people. The depth trial. Young ones must prove their strength by surviving the deep waters alone. Most do not survive. But those who do become leaders of our clans." Kate felt her heart sink. "So I interfered with your religious ceremony?" "You did something far greater," Silfarian replied. "For the first time in our history, a surface dweller entered our sacred space. You risked your life to save one of our young. By doing this, you have created a life debt between our peoples." Ben whispered to Kate, "What's a life debt?" Silfarian seemed to hear him. "A life debt is sacred among our people. When someone saves a life during the depth trial, they become family. Kate Morrison is now part of our clan. The young one she saved is bound to her for life." "But the baby is dying," Kate said desperately. "I've tried everything, but I can't save it." "The young one is not dying," Silfarian said. "It is waiting." "Waiting for what?" "For you to accept your role as its bond parent. The young one cannot thrive without the acknowledgement of the one who saved it. This is our way." Kate looked back toward the medical bay where Ember was lying still in the tank. "What do I need to do?" "Come to the water," Silfarian said. "Bring the young one. Let us complete what you began." Kate ran back to the medical bay and carefully lifted Ember from the tank. The baby creature felt so light in her arms, like it was fading away. She carried it to the station's launch bay, where a small platform extended over the ocean. The three giant creatures waited in the water below. Silfarian's eyes glowed with warm light as Kate knelt on the platform, holding Ember. "Place your hand on the young one's heart," Silfarian instructed. "Speak your acceptance of the bond." Kate placed her hand on Ember's tiny chest. She could feel a weak heartbeat. "I accept this bond. I will protect and care for this little one." The moment she spoke those words, something amazing happened. Ember's scales began to glow again, brighter than before. The baby creature opened its eyes for the first time since Kate had rescued it. Instead of the dull color they had been, its eyes now sparkled with golden light. Ember made a soft chirping sound and nuzzled against Kate's hand. All around them, the three adult creatures sang in deep, beautiful voices that made the ocean itself seem to pulse with life. "The bond is complete," Silfarian said. "Welcome to the Deep Current clan, Kate Morrison. You are now mother to Ember of the sacred depths." Kate held Ember close to her chest as Silfarian began to speak again. The baby dragon was warm now, its scales glowing softly against her arms. It felt good to finally see the little creature healthy and alert. "There is much you do not understand about what you have done, Kate Morrison," Silfarian said, his deep voice carrying across the water. "Your actions have meaning far beyond saving one young life." "I'm listening," Kate said, sitting cross-legged on the platform. Around her, the other scientists from the station had gathered to watch and listen. "Our people have been dying for many generations," Silfarian began. "Each year, fewer and fewer of our young survive the depth trial. We believed our bloodline was cursed. We thought our clan was no longer worthy of continuing." The elder dragon's eyes dimmed with sadness. "In the past 100 years, only 3 young ones have survived the trial. Ember would have been the 4th, but we were not certain. The young one was struggling more than most." Ben whispered to Kate, "That's why they looked so sad when you found them." Silfarian nodded, apparently hearing him. "We were saying goodbye to another young life. We have said goodbye too many times. But why don't you help them?" Kate asked. "Why make them go through the trial alone?" Because the trial has always been our way, Sotharian replied. Our ancestors created this test to make us strong. In the old days, many young ones survived. They grew up to be powerful leaders who protected our people from the great dangers of the deep. The elder dragon moved closer to the platform, but something changed long ago. The deep waters became more dangerous. The pressure grew stronger. The creatures that hunt in the darkness became more fierce. Our young ones could no longer survive as easily as before. So your people have been getting smaller and smaller, Kate said, understanding now. Yes, each generation we have fewer adults to protect our territories and care for our young. We began to believe that our time was ending, that our people would fade away like many others have before us. Ember chirped softly and looked up at Kate with its golden eyes. She gently stroked its scales, feeling how smooth and warm they were. But then you came, Sotharian continued. You did something that no one has ever done before. You entered our sacred ceremony not as one of our people, but as an outsider. You risked your life to save a young one who was not even your own kind. I couldn't just watch, Kate said simply. And that is why you were special, Sotharian said. Our ancient stories tell of a time when a surface walker would come from above the waves. This being would dive deep to save the forgotten, and when they did, our clan would rise from the depths renewed. Captain Blake stepped forward. You're talking about a prophecy. We call it the Song of the Tide Turner, Sotharian said. It was written by our oldest ancestors from a time when our people first learned to speak with words instead of just feelings. Most of us thought it was only a story. But Kate fulfilled this prophecy, Ben asked. Every part of it, Sotharian sighed, his voice filled with wonder. The surface walker who dives deep. The saving of the forgotten young. The renewal of the clan. And most importantly, the proof that our people are still worthy of survival. Kate looked down at Ember, who was now playing with her fingers. I don't understand. How does saving one baby prove anything? Because you succeeded where we had failed, Sotharian explained. You showed us that survival is not just about being strong alone. It is about having others who care enough to help when help is needed. The elder dragon's scales began to glow. Brighter. Your people, the humans, have something we had forgotten. You work together to solve problems. You help each other survive. You do not abandon your young to face danger alone. That's just normal for us, Kate said. And that is why you are the tide turner, Sotharian said. You have shown us a new way to think about the depth trial. Perhaps our young ones do not need to face the deep waters completely alone. Another of the elder dragons spoke for the first time. I am Nethys of the Coral Gardens clan. Word of what happened here has already spread to all the clans across the ocean. They are coming to see the tide turner and the young one who survived. With help, Kate's eyes widened. More of you are coming? All of us, Nethys said. Every clan that still exists. We want to learn from you. We want to understand how your people survive and grow strong while still helping each other. Sotharian moved even closer to the platform. Kate Morrison, we wish to share knowledge with your people. We have lived in these oceans for thousands of years. We know secrets about the deep waters that your science has not yet discovered. What kind of secrets? Captain Blake asked, his scientific curiosity obvious. We know how to grow living ships that can travel to the deepest places without being crushed by pressure, Sotharian said. We know how to speak with the great leviathans that sleep in the ocean trenches. We know how to find the rarest minerals that form in underwater volcanoes. Kate felt her heart racing. You're talking about sharing technology? We are talking about sharing everything, Sotharian said. In return, we hope your people can teach us about cooperation and care. Perhaps together, we can create new ways for our young ones to become strong without so many of them dying. Ember made a happy chirping sound and spread its tiny fins wide. The baby dragon seemed to understand that something wonderful was happening. There is one more thing, Siltharion said. As the Tide Turner, you now have the right to speak for all of our clans. You are not just Ember's bondparent. You are the bridge between your people and ours. Kate looked around at her fellow scientists, then back at the magnificent creatures in the water. I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of responsibility. You are ready, Siltharion said gently. You have already proven it by doing what was right without thinking about the consequences. That is the mark of a true leader. 2 weeks later, Kate's life had changed completely. Ember had grown twice as big and was now the size of a large dolphin. The baby dragon followed Kate everywhere, swimming beside her when she dove underwater and resting next to her when she worked at her desk. "Good morning, little one," Kate said as Ember nudged her awake with a gentle push from its snout. The dragon's scales were now a brilliant mix of blue and gold, much brighter than when she had first rescued it. What surprised Kate most was how smart Ember was. The dragon seemed to understand everything she said, even though it could not speak human words yet. When Kate felt sad or worried, Ember would curl up next to her and make soft humming sounds that always made her feel better. "I think it's reading your emotions," said Dr. Lisa Chun, Kate's new partner in studying the dragons. Lisa had arrived from Earth a week ago to help with the first contact situation. The scans show unusual brain activity when you two are together. Kate nodded, watching Ember play in the large pool they had built for it. "Sometimes I feel like I know what it's thinking too." "Is that possible?" "With these creatures, anything seems possible," Lisa said, checking her instruments. "Their brains are more complex than any animal we've ever studied. They might have some kind of telepathic ability." The sound of horns echoing across the ocean interrupted their conversation. Kate and Lisa rushed to the observation deck where they saw an amazing sight. The ocean was filled with dragons as far as they could see. Dozens of different clans had arrived, each one with their own colors and markings. "This is incredible," Captain Blake said, looking through his binoculars. "I count at least 40 adult dragons out there, maybe more." Siltharion rose from the water near the station. "Kate Morrison, the great gathering has begun. Representatives from every surviving clan have come to meet the Tide Turner." Kate felt nervous. "There are so many of them." "Do not worry," a new voice said. Kate turned to see a beautiful female dragon with silver and purple scales. "I am Lirelei of the Starlight Depths clan. We have all heard the story of your kindness. None of us come with anger in our hearts." Over the next few days, Kate met dragons from clans all across the planet. Each clan had their own special abilities and knowledge. The Coral Garden clan could grow living buildings from sea plants. The Deep Current clan could communicate with whales and other large sea creatures. The Starlight Depths clan could see in complete darkness and navigate by the stars. "Your people have learned so much," Kate said to Lirelei as they watched Ember play with some young dragons from other clans. "Why do you need our help?" "Because all our knowledge means nothing if our children keep dying," Lirelei replied sadly. "Each clan has lost so many young ones. Some clans have no children at all anymore." Kate learned that the dragons' problems were getting worse. The ocean was changing in ways that made the depth trial even more dangerous. Strange new creatures had appeared in the deep waters, and the pressure in some areas had increased beyond what young dragons could survive. "We have been thinking about this wrong," Kate said during the meeting with all the clan leaders. "The trial isn't supposed to kill your children. It's supposed to make them strong. But if the conditions have changed, maybe the trial needs to change too." An old dragon named Corvain, leader of the Ancient Stone clan, disagreed strongly. "The depth trial has been our way for thousands of years. To change it would be to abandon our ancestors' wisdom." "But your ancestors would want your children to survive," Kate argued. "If they were alive today, they would change the trial to match the new dangers." "The surface walker speaks truth," said Soltharian. "Our ancestors were practical. They created the trial to prepare our young for the world they would face. If the world has changed, the trial must change too." Not all the dragons agreed. Some, led by a fierce dragon named Nithara, believed that changing their traditions would make them weak. Nithara was the leader of Clan Abyssos, the dragons who lived in the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean. "The Tide Turner is an outsider," Nithara declared, her black scales rippling with red anger. "How can someone who is not one of us tell us how to raise our young?" "Because she succeeded where we have failed," Lyrily replied calmly. "Her methods saved Ember when our methods would have let the young one die." The argument between the clans grew stronger each day. Kate tried to find a solution that would satisfy everyone, but it seemed impossible. Some dragons wanted to completely abandon the depth trial. Others wanted to keep it exactly as it had always been. Meanwhile, Kate's bond with Ember grew stronger. The young dragon had learned to speak a few human words, and Kate had learned to understand some of the dragons' complex language of sounds and colors. They could communicate in ways that amazed the other scientists. "I can feel what Ember is feeling," Kate told Ben one evening. "When it's happy, I feel happy. When it's scared, I feel scared too." "That could be very useful," Ben said. "If you can understand dragons better than anyone else, you might be able to solve this problem between the clans." But Kate was worried about something else. She had been having strange dreams where she was swimming in the deepest parts of the ocean, places no human could survive. In these dreams, she met a massive creature that was older and larger than any of the dragons she had seen. "There's something else out there," Kate told Ember as they sat by the pool. "Something ancient. I can feel it calling to me." Ember chirped and touched Kate's hand with its fin. Images flashed through Kate's mind. Pictures of the deepest ocean trench, darker than space itself. And somewhere in that darkness, something enormous was waiting. The next morning, Nithara appeared at the research station with several other dragons from her clan. These dragons looked different from the others. They were larger, darker, and had sharp spines along their backs. "The time for talking is over," Nithara announced. "If the Tide Turner truly wishes to change our ways, she must prove herself worthy according to our ancient laws." "What do you mean?" Kate asked. "You must face the deep calling," Nithara said. "You must go to the deepest place in our ocean and commune with Leviathos Prime, the first one who sleeps in the Great Trench. Only if the Ancient One accepts you can you truly speak for our people." Kate felt her blood turn cold. Even with all her advanced equipment, going to the deepest ocean trench would be incredibly dangerous. No human had ever attempted such a dive. "Kate, you don't have to do this," Captain Blake said. But Kate looked at Ember, who was watching her with worried golden eyes. She thought about all the young dragons who had died in trials that were too dangerous for the changing world. She thought about the future of two species that could help each other grow and survive. "I'll do it," Kate said. "I'll face the deep calling." Kate stood at the edge of her diving ship, looking down into the blackest water she had ever seen. The great trench stretched below her like a wound in the ocean floor. Even with her ship's strongest lights, she could not see the bottom. "Are you sure about this?" Ben asked through the radio. He was back at the research station, monitoring her dive from safety. "No," Kate admitted. "But I have to try." Ember floated beside her ship in a special protective suit that the dragons had made. The young dragon had insisted on coming with her, even though the dive would be dangerous for both of them. "The connection between you and the young one will help," Soltharian had told her before the dive. "Leviathos Prime is very old and thinks in ways that are hard for younger minds to understand. But through your bond with Ember, you may be able to communicate." Kate activated her ship's diving systems. The vessel was a combination of human technology and dragon bioengineering. The dragons had grown special living materials around her. Ship that would help it survive the crushing pressure of the deepest ocean. As they descended, the water around them grew darker and colder. Kate's instruments showed the pressure increasing to levels that would crush any normal ship. But the dragon bio-armor held strong, pulsing with gentle light as it adapted to the changing conditions. "How deep are we now?" Kate asked. 15,000 meters and still going down. Ben's voice crackled through the radio. "Kate, that's deeper than any human has ever gone." "I know," Kate replied, watching Ember swim gracefully beside her ship. The young dragon seemed completely comfortable at these depths, protected by its natural abilities and the bio-suit. At 20,000 meters, Kate's lights began to pick up something in the darkness ahead. At first, she thought it was just a rock formation. But as they got closer, she realized she was looking at something alive. "Oh my God," Kate whispered. Leviathos Prime was bigger than anything she could have imagined. The creature was so massive that Kate's ship could have fit inside just one of its eyes. Its body stretched away into the darkness like a living mountain. Ancient scars covered its hide, and its scales were so old they had turned to stone in some places. The creature's eyes opened as Kate approached. They glowed with a light that seemed older than the stars. When Leviathos Prime spoke, its voice did not come through the water. Instead, Kate heard it directly in her mind. "So the small surface dweller comes to the deep places." Kate felt her ship trembling, not from pressure, but from the power of the ancient creature's voice in her thoughts. "I am Kate Morrison. I've come to ask for your wisdom." "I know who you are, Tide Turner. I have been watching through the eyes of my children. You seek to change the old ways. The old ways are killing the young dragons," Kate said, trying to keep her voice steady. "There has to be a better way." Leviathos Prime's massive head moved closer to Kate's ship. "The death trial was created for good reason, small one. Long ago, great dangers threatened my children. Only the strongest could survive and protect the others." Through her connection with Ember, Kate began to see visions. She saw the ancient ocean as it used to be, filled with terrible creatures that hunted the dragons. She saw wars between different sea peoples and disasters that nearly destroyed all life in the deep waters. "The trials made your people strong," Kate said, understanding now. "But the dangers have changed. The old enemies are gone, but new problems have taken their place." "Yes," Leviathos Prime agreed. "The ocean has become sick in some places. Chemicals from the surface world have changed the water. New predators have come from the deep spaces between stars. The trials that once prepared my children for old dangers now kill them before they can face the new ones." Kate felt Ember swimming closer to her ship. The young dragon's mind touched hers, sharing feelings of hope and determination. "What if we could change the trials?" Kate asked. "What if instead of facing the deep alone, the young dragons could face it together? They could still prove their courage and strength, but they would have help when they need it." "You speak of cooperation instead of individual strength," Leviathos Prime said thoughtfully. "This is the way of your people, is it not?" "Yes, humans survive because we help each other. We've learned that being part of a team makes us stronger, not weaker." The ancient creature was quiet for a long time. Kate could feel its mind working through thousands of years of memory and wisdom. Finally, it spoke again. "Show me how this would work." Kate took a deep breath. "Instead of the death trial, we could have the unity trial. Young dragons would still have to prove themselves by going into dangerous waters. But they would go as teams, with adults nearby to help if something goes wrong. They would learn to be brave and strong while also learning to work together. And if they still fail?" Leviathos Prime asked. "Some might still fail," Kate admitted. "But many more would survive. And those who survive would be not just strong individuals, but strong teams who could protect all your people." Kate felt Ember's excitement as the young dragon understood what she was proposing. Through their bond, she could sense that Ember loved the idea of young dragons helping each other instead of struggling alone. Leviathos Prime's eyes glowed brighter. You offer wisdom, Tide Turner. The old ways served their purpose, but the world has changed. Perhaps it is time for new ways. The ancient creature's approval flowed through the water like warm sunlight. Kate felt every dragon in the ocean respond to that approval, from the deepest trenches to the shallowest reefs. Let it be known, Leviathos Prime declared, its voice reaching every dragon mind across the planet. The Tide Turner speaks with ancient wisdom. The trials shall change, but the honor of our people shall remain. Young ones shall face danger to prove their worth, but they shall face it together, as brothers and sisters should. Kate felt tears of joy running down her face. When she looked at Ember, the young dragon was glowing so brightly that it lit up the dark water around them. The pact is sealed, Leviathos Prime said. Go now and teach my children this new way. Let the surface dwellers and the deep dwellers learn from each other, so that both peoples may grow strong. As Kate and Ember began their long journey back to the surface, Kate knew that everything had changed. Humans and dragons would work together now, sharing knowledge and wisdom. The depth trial would become the unity trial, and young dragons would learn that strength comes not from facing danger alone, but from having the courage to help and be helped by others. Ember chirped happily and did a little flip in the water. Kate laughed, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. Come on, little one, she said. Let's go home and start building a better future.